안녕하세요. 한국어 한류문화 맛집 먹자 우리들 TV의 김수범입니다. 오늘은 여기 창성동 실험실에 나와 있습니다. 여기에서 이제 외국의 미국 태생 작가 예술인 크리스토퍼핸리의 다양한 매체를 활용한 추상화 컬렉션이 오늘 열리고 있습니다. 창성동 실험실 deFORMED 일렉트로닉 렉션 헨리의 작품 세계를 창성동 실험실입니다. 예, 아주 특이한 깔끔한 그런 작품들입니다. 예, 창성동.
And then something that we're going to do is going to be a collection of like 6 different artists.
It's a larger scale thing.
It's pretty big. Yeah. But it's also on the university campus, so it's not as swanky as this.
So people come by chance or by invitation?
That would probably
By chance.
예, 크리스토퍼 헨리입니다.
Weekend? Saturday. Very crowded. Weekend.
So it's easy to get home.
Thank you for having us. Okay.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for
다음에
coming.
봐요.
Really nice.
다음에 봐요. 네.
Hello.
Hello.
Congratulations your exhibition.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I hope to your articles and first I want to introduce yourself. Go back, please.
Sure.
Yeah.
My name
Okay.
is Christopher-Henry. I am from the United States. I live now here in Songdo. I am an artist. I do primarily abstract. And I work in a lot of mediums. I work in alcohol ink, which you see behind me. I do some acrylic paintings, a lot of different mediums. My work is strictly impressionistic. I am not a camera or a mirror. I do not paint pictures of people or places per se. I get impressions from those people and then I transfer them to canvas or paper. I'm also a sculptor. I like to work with stone and wood. What you see today in this gallery is primarily paintings.
Where do you study in the United States?
I studied years ago at a place called the Palomar School, and I had aspirations to be a professional artist, but I gave it up for several decades just to work and make ends meet. But then I started doing. It's kind of an odd thing. I got into making Stone Age tools and weapons, reproductions for museums, for film, for television, that kind of thing. And I kind of made a living at that. But then I had to return to my first love, which was painting.
Yes. Can you introduce your articles?
I'm sorry?
Can you introduce your articles?
My articles.
Yeah, your
Oh, my pieces.
Yeah,
Oh,
painting.
sure. All right. This piece is called Boreal, which means forest. It is acrylic on
Standing there,
canvas.
please.
Alright.
Yes. Okay.
It is acrylic on canvas, and it is just my impression of forest. Say, like in Europe or somewhere dark. Just the impression thereof. You know, it's basically the color scheme. You have your golds, your greens, your whites. And I like to do these types of things. Like traditionally you would see a forest as very organic. So I like to mix it up and make it more linear, more square, if you will, sort of pixelated. You'll see that a lot in my work. If something is supposed to be flowing and curved lines, I will do the opposite. So, this was actually the last piece I did before the show. So this is my latest painting. Okay. Over here you have my examples of alcohol ink, which is a media that's pretty unknown to a lot of people. It's an alcohol-based ink that you put down on a flat surface on paper and then add 100% alcohol and manipulate it with air, like an air dryer or just blowing on it or things like that. And it's very organic. It's very unpredictable in what it will do. But it's also very freeing. So there's no set structure when you go to paint it. It actually just sort of does what it wants.
Alcohol is like water, no color. Then there is a color. What is it?
So different colors. So I choose the color palette when I do it, but what it does after that is kind of up to itself. And you know, I have a little bit of control, and the more experience you have, the more control you have. But it still kind of has a mind of its own, and I really like that. It's more like nature itself. You can try and manipulate nature, but it will always do what it wants. So that's why I love this medium. Here you have some more acrylic work. You'll have angular and more curved, more organic style. This is called Kerouac. It's based on one of the beat poets from the 1950s. I used the color palette of the time, more like the color palette that you would see with like a Jackson Pollock, the beat poets and jazz of that age, post World War II. And then this one is called Therma, and it's meant to inspire motion and heat. And you can see that, you know, it's very organic, and that my brush strokes were very much in that vein versus the controlled version of this.
And the next,
Here we have Shatter, again, acrylic on canvas. This is multimedia, actually. There's not only acrylic paint, there's charcoal, there's ink, there's pencil, there's pastel. There's a lot of things going on this. And
mixed.
I wanted it to be chaotic. This is indicative of breaking glass, hence the name Shatter. I wanted a lot of motion in this piece. Alright, let's see. Yeah, we can go to here. Alright, so we have 3 pieces in a row that show different styles, all on paper. These are all either acrylic or mixed media. First we have Nikola, which is named after Nikola Tesla. And I kind of wanted to show what, if you could see electricity, what it would look like. So there's a lot of frenetic lines, a lot of motion going on in that, a lot of randomness. This one is called Cygnus, which is named after a star. I don't know why I named it that, actually. That's just the impression that I got when I painted it. I had no set plan, which I rarely do when I set out to paint a picture, other than the color palette. That was just the impression I got after I finished it. It was very science fiction based, like this one.
What does this mean?
All right, this one is named Kinsey, and Kinsey was the author of the first study into human sexuality in the 1950s. After I painted it, I looked at it and it reminded me of sexuality. It was very, you know, flesh colored, very, very, very intimate and erotic. And so that's how that got that name. Alright, in this show, this is the piece that Koreans seem to have identified with the most. I don't know why, but it seems the majority of Koreans who have come through the gallery have gravitated towards this piece. I call this one Noon. This was a simple painting for me and just a study in light. There is only 3 colors in this painting, white, black, and blue. And I was just practicing a technique. And apparently that came through, and a lot of people really enjoy it. So that was that one. This is called Currency. This is a mixed media piece on paper. Again, there is acrylic paint, ink, charcoal, pastel, pencil. I wanted it to be both random and frenetic, a lot of motion, and also square and rigid and rectilinear, which is the nature of currency, of money. So that's what this one represents. All right, and I have a series here. These are all places that I've been and the impressions I've got from them. And these are all done on paper, which is then mounted on wood. The first one is Kyoto. I went there last spring, beautiful place, and that's the impression I got. We have Shimpo here in Korea. It was one of the first places I visited when I got to Korea, and it left a very strong impression on me. This one is called Village, and it is a village in Vietnam. Right. This is Leipzig, which is in Germany. And then this is Aokigahara, which is forest in Japan.
Where?
In Japan.
Japan?
Yeah. Aokigahara is the name of a forest in Japan. Okay. Moving on, we have Koch, which is the German word for chef. I have a friend back in the United States who owns a restaurant, and it is a very modern, clean restaurant, stainless steel, a lot of white tile, but when they are open and when they are cooking, it is chaos. So I wanted to represent both, the clean lines and the colors of the kitchen, and then the chaos that happens when they are cooking. So this one was my first representational art that I had done in decades, and one of the few pieces that I actually do. You can actually see a form in there. It's called Woman with Cello, so you can kind of see the woman, kind of see the cello. This is not something I usually do, but for whatever reason I felt inspired that day and did that. And then I had some good friends buy it from me, so which was nice. This one is called Cascade. It is acrylic on canvas. I used to live in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, Washington State. They have a lot of waterfalls. Sometimes the waterfalls at dawn would create a mist that would catch the light of the rising sun. This is called Micah. Imagine you were looking at sand through a microscope. That is what this one represents there.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, and finally we're going to get to my 3 favorite paintings in the collection. Let's get the mosquito off that one. This is Viero, which is a Spanish word for cowboy. And it's basically just the colors, the impressions that you get from, the Southwest in the United States of the heat and the dust and the animals and the woven textiles and things of that nature. And my personal favorite in the collection. This is Lesser Gods. This was inspired by the first images from the Hubble Space Telescope, seen from deep space. And then finally we have Gensui, which is the Japanese word for trash. It was not inspired by a particular place per se. It's just the name I came up with after I painted it. So it's also one of my wife's favorites. So.
Yes. Very cyber.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What I do in Korea? You only work?
Yeah, artist. My wife is a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
So I stay home and I cook and I paint.
And he takes care of the dog.
And yes. Do laundry, sex cook.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Please share that with all of the world.
She gave me that name, and that's what I'm writing on.
Instagram, did you hear me? You kept talking about, we went to San Francisco this last summer for a conference that he has a friend up there who us in Korea. And after we left her that night, she got 50 pop-ups on her Facebook of Korea stuff.
Wow, that's scary.
We must have said Korea like 100 times that night and her phone was listening. It's like, oh yes, go to Korea.
Kind of scary.
Terrifying. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a there. He's the president of the Queen fan club, so he has a signed guitar for I made as well. But he has a giant screen where he plays these. That he just provides customers to put videos on project the screen. So these guys, and
Yeah.
put one of
Oh, yes.
these.
That's good. Are you gonna press the buttons?
Yeah, you got it?
There's 2 buttons.
Two buttons.
Yeah.
There we
Press
go.
them at the same time and hold them down.
I mean, that's the most cute sounds like this.
Yeah. No, it's all you. You're the hunter now. You got a taste for it.
James the Slayer.
Most cases are better. I just want to say, I remember stuff I thought was as well as projection screen because he has all these serious like vintage rock and roll things. They have an interview on it too.
I mean, they're pretty. I mean, Starfire's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also like not. They're all in. There's no A. So it's STR. FRKR. Yeah. So you may see it.
네, 창성동 실험실 풍경이었습니다. 좋아요, 구독 신청 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.